Rob, this is an uphill battle for El Chapo, but the man nicknamed Shorty tonight is in a do-or-die situation. The convicted Sinaloa cartel boss, who was responsible for 80% of Chicago's illegal drug trade.
At precisely 4:42 in the morning, an armored convoy with over 300 gunmen and weaponry, capable of wiping out millions of people, crept across the border into the dark Sonoran desert. They thought they were the predators, unaware that every action was monitored, every communication was intercepted, and an invisible blade stood ready to attack. What happened when the Sinaloa cartel crossed the red line in the United States? You will be captivated till the very end by the facts behind this terrifying encounter. Enter the story concealed in the terrible silence of the desert by clicking subscribe and turning on alerts. On the morning of August 12th at 4:42, almost 300 members of the Sinaloa cartel drove directly into the Sonora Desert from Mexico, accompanied by a convoy of heavily fortified cars and 6 fentanyl containers. This was not your typical invasion. It was a declaration of war, a bold attack on American dignity and sovereignty, and it was conducted on American soil. The cartel was certain they could elude detection, overpower border guards, and disappear before daybreak. But there was no chase after that. Every sand grain was turned into a weapon, every signal was deciphered, and each stride brought them one step closer to devastation in this campaign of annihilation. This is the tale of how the entire cartel army was destroyed by the U.S. military in the middle of the desert. No cautions, no options left. Follow along to find out how the U.S. responded to those who dared to cross the line. Don't turn away before the truth comes to light. Additionally, don't forget to subscribe and comment on this match. At 4:42 a.m., there was total blackness in the sky above southern Arizona. There was no patrol plane overhead, no moon, and no stars. Less than 2 kilometers from the Mexican border, on the edge of the Sonora Desert, a massive convoy moved silently through the Sierra El Pinacate Pass, a natural corridor that was once used for drug smuggling but has since been widened into a temporary route for tactical invasion. Only the subdued grumble of diesel engines, operating in stealth mode, and the faint glitter of infrared lights probing the ground ahead were audible. There were no radio broadcasts or alerts. 3 armored command vehicles led the convoy, followed by 18 military transport trucks, 24 SUVs that had been modified to carry heavy machine guns, 4 armored units that had been equipped with mobile anti-aircraft systems, and 6 refrigerated containers that contained more than 7 tons of pure fentanyl, enough to kill more than 200 million people. More than 300 cartel gunmen were on board, equipped with FN-6 shoulder-fired missiles, M4 carbines, PKM machine guns, M203 grenade launchers, and a dozen micro-kamikaze drones. The convoy was part of the Ghost Unit, a clandestinely redesigned Sinaloa cartel wing that included battle-hardened Colombian mercenaries, former park soldiers with special operations training, semi-professional artillery units with powerful firepower, and sophisticated electronic warfare experts, in addition to elite gunmen. This force was created for daring cross-border operations, operating completely beyond the jurisdiction of the Mexican government to provide the highest level of tactical autonomy, flexibility, and secrecy in its operations. Still, it was unclear why the cartel would take such a risky bet. Why would a group known for its covert operations gather a sizable, heavily armed army and march directly into U.S. territory? The answer starts 2 weeks prior, on July 29th, when the Mexican military and the Drug Enforcement Administration dismantled a vital Sinaloa transit route in Sinaloa. They also seized over 40 tons of precursor chemicals and arrested 17 fentanyl processing technicians, one of whom was the son of a senior commander. The cartel suffered more than just financial losses as a result of that raid. The unwritten agreement between the cartels and local Mexican officials was broken. Before realizing it had been deceived, Sinaloa thought it had allies in the government. The cartel's leadership responded by authorizing an unprecedented counterattack, cross the border, launch an attack straight toward the United States, destroy border checkpoint number 13 in Arizona, take over a recently created fentanyl transit route in the Gila Mountains, and send a message dripping with blood to Mexico City and Washington. We are not easily broken. Under the codename Operation Rodo, the order was sent on August 9th with the following goals: to infiltrate within 90 minutes, demolish the checkpoint, recover the seized fentanyl shipments, and retreat before daylight. Salvador Alicorenza, a criminal with a $10 million U.S. bounty, was in charge of the team. He was notorious for carrying out over 50 homicides in Culiacan and for running a huge drug distribution network that covered Arizona, Nevada, and New Mexico. For over a year, Carranza, a notorious smuggler, was unaware that he was being watched. The U.S. Department of Defense's Border Analytics Data Center had carefully examined every transit route, driver, roster, satellite ping, and fictitious phone credit transaction associated with him. The data, fed through sophisticated algorithms, exposed his whole network of operations. The Killbox Bravo system, a state-of-the-art defense network, activated automatically the moment Carranza's convoy passed the virtual boundary set by NORAD, Drones were launched with deadly precision, ready to destroy the threat in a matter of seconds. Only encrypted pulses from magnetic sensors buried deep beneath the earth, sending data directly to the command center, replaced sirens and flares. Bravo 01 adhered to the objective with perfect accuracy, although concealed among swirling dust, charred, cacti, and rocky cliffs. 3,000 U.S. forces were divided into 14 tactical clusters, which included the elite Delta Force, battle-hardened SEAL Team 6, nimble Rangers, unwavering Marines, the highly mobile 82nd Airborne Division, combat engineers, advanced UAV units, and state-of-the-art electronic warfare teams. They controlled the harsh terrain for 40 hours in a row, keeping a laser-like focus, never losing sight or signal contact, and ready to strike in deadly silence. There are no patrol planes or reconnaissance drones, just preparation and quiet. The combat did not start when the first wheel touched the sensor or when the infrared light swept into the kill zone. Are you in favor of going to war to destroy these cartels? If so, omit the second digit. If not, please leave the number 5 and remember to help us by liking and subscribing. The Killbox Bravo battlefield exploded in deadly silence just 2 minutes after the lead vehicle crossed the death line. There were no warning shots or alarms, just death coming from all sides. Concealed 19 kilometers away, a HIMARS battery of the 75th Artillery Brigade fired its inaugural salvo with split-second accuracy. At almost Mach 3.6 GMLR, rockets with steel-piercing warheads ripped into the atmosphere, leaving no trace of radar. Faint slivers of light pierced the darkness before crashing straight into the convoy's second command truck, instantly destroying it. The armored truck was torn apart like tissue paper by the first blast. 2 gunmen were thrown over the roof by a blazing burst of flame. In midair, their bodies were ripped apart and flung 30 meters. SEAL Team 6 snipers shot in perfect coordination from the western cliffs at the same moment. With surgical accuracy, laser-guided 7.62 mm bullets cut through bulletproof glass, hitting an attacker square in the forehead with each shot. As the darkness of the battlefield consumed every last sound of resistance, weapons clattered pointlessly to the ground. The PKM heavy machine gun trucks were captured by 4 Switchblade 600 UAV that were launched from a hidden location on Black Ridge. The cartel's remaining effective means of retaliation, 5 enemy fire bases were destroyed by blinding fireballs in less than 40 seconds. The command center received clear high-definition thermal footage of each strike in real time. Pincer 1 was launched by Delta Force operators on the northern desert floor, enclosing the enemy formation in a lethal vice, and closing the trap from 600 meters away. 11 convoy trucks were converted to burning ruins within 3 minutes and 25 seconds of the initial explosion. The battlefield was littered with debris in a violent manner. After tearing their tires on directed spike mines, 6 more flipped or staggered to a stop, but that was only the prelude. Beneath the highway was a complex system of Claymore and M15 mines that were designed to explode in a carefully planned fan-shaped pattern rather than all at once. Every explosion began as soon as a car reached its deadly arc. Engulfed by roaring flames and choking pillars of thick black smoke, the convoy was reduced to a mangled pile of burned steel, as each bomb was designed for maximum damage. Using the state-of-the-art repack equipment, the electronic warfare team of the 101st Brigades jammed the spectrum, instantaneously destroying GPS signals throughout the battle area. The cartel's reconnaissance UAVs plummeted into the desert floor, like broken-winged birds as they spiraled aimlessly out of control. Simultaneously, from a hidden reserve position in the northeast, Paladin M1 Tanj self-propelled howitzers roared, unleashing laser-directed cluster munitions that carpeted the convoy's only escape route in a deadly storm of permanently blocking their line of retreat. More quickly than bullets could fly, panic tore through the ranks of the cartel. As ECM devices reduced their radio networks to static, frontline commanders went dark. A 50 caliber sniper round from 12,200 meters away instantaneously downed a desperate gunman who was clambering onto a heavy machine gun turret to return fire. The bullet went straight through his helmet. Salvador Eli Carranza desperately attempted to mobilize his forces inside the armored command van, but strong jamming equipment from Fort Hua had destroyed his encrypted satellite link. It wasn't a fight, it was executed clinically. Once the uncontested horror of northern Mexico, the cartel was now being pursued in complete secrecy. An animal trapped in a corner with nowhere to flee, a second wave of destruction swept across the battlefield at 4:52 a.m. As smoke was still curling from the convoy, broken lead trucks, and fentanyl containers hissed and smoldered beneath the burned sand. Instead of using booming artillery or streaking missiles, they eliminated all traces of resistance with lines of silent code, frigid streams of data, and invisible messages. Sniper squads, hardened warriors trained to combat drones, and cartel commanders had never prepared for a threat they couldn't see, hear, or touch. From an underground command post in Tucson, The 3rd Battalion of the 75th Digital Warfare Brigade, working with NSA and DIA signal intelligence teams, unleashed campaign-level electronic warfare. The battlefield vanished into a maze of radio waves when the REPEX system came online. They faked satellite feeds. The GPS system was Cartel radios started sending out fake coordinates. Unaware that it had wandered 800 meters east, the Alpha unit thought it was heading west. After pulling back to what they believed to be safe coordinates, a logistical security crew entered a Claymore minefield. There were no directives given. Nobody was aware of their location. In the meantime, U.S. Special Troops accessed the live audio stream, decrypting each panicked message and mercilessly removing voices. His distinctive Sinaloa accent identified a mid-level commander. 40 seconds later, an unarmed Ghost X UAV drifted silently overhead. Its sensors focused on his makeshift command vehicle, painting the target with unerring precision to direct a devastating artillery hit directly onto his position. Body heat profiles, pulsating radio frequencies, and the subtle seismic tremors of boots on sand were used to track every cartel movement instead of eyes on target. 2 ASA micro radars, positioned high atop Black Mesa, continuously scanned the combat zone, identifying who was still engaged in combat and where by analyzing engine roar fluctuations and the distinct auditory characteristics of weapon discharges. In real time, every instinctual action, lifting a gun, opening a car door, turning to run, was recorded, processed, and transformed into new actionable coordinates. Target coordinates were promptly relayed to artillery units 14 kilometers away and were updated every second. There, the battlefield was ripped with jagged scars by the merciless thunder of Paladin, M109, and HIMARS batteries. However, the fatal blow was never delivered from the ground, high overhead in complete silence. For Phoenix X UAVs, Lockheed's state-of-the-art tactical drones carried 8 BSDB-2 GBU-39 small diameter bombs equipped with dual infrared and active radar seekers. Since 3:30 a.m., the drones had been tracing tight spirals, with stealth cobring radar-absorbing skin and zero emissions. With their engines quiet, they hung poised, ready to launch surgically devastating strikes at any moment, giving the opponent no notice, no margin, and no chance of survival. Phoenix X UAVs stealthily opened their bomb bays upon receiving the directive priority ground target neutralization. The final drug stockpiles, command cars, and jammer equipment were all perfectly destroyed by GBU-39s, which dropped like invisible blades. The cartel's mobile command center vanished into smoke in less than 70 seconds. No radar signature, no engine noise, no death warning. Simultaneously, the final 4 vehicles used backup GPS to get out of the kill zone and race toward the Gila Mountains. They thought they were going to Mexico and were unaware that MWK-11 had fully faked the positioning signals. In actuality, they were driving directly into a predetermined dead end. After 3 minutes, 4 Switchblade 600s jumped in, clean and complete, each warhead puncturing the windshield and exploding within the driver's compartment. Not a single U.S. special operator had to relocate during the whole engagement. There are only flames, smoke, and frigid data streams. No footprints, no private shooting. 314 targets were removed. Only 21 minutes after the opening shot, at precisely 5:03 a.m., the electronic warfare system locked Pincer Alpha 2, cutting off all satellite communications. The 300,900 Memoir band was immobilized. Now the survivors were all alone. No commands, no maps, no assistance requests. "Can anyone hear me?" a gunman screamed into his radio as he stumbled out of the debris, but all he got was static. Then the night was ripped apart by a roaring blast. No response, no survivors. The cartel was destroyed by an adversary they never saw in a conflict without declarations, trenches, or flags. They believed they were hunters when data crossed the border. In actuality, they were the victims of an unseen blade sharpened by technology, intelligence, and deadly quiet. Another force silently emerged from the desert as the cartel convoy was all but destroyed, leaving only burned-out cars, downed UAVs, and terrified gunmen in its wake. From dry riverbeds, deserted bunkers, and cracks in the rock, over 900 soldiers from Delta Force, the U.S. Marine Corps, and the 82nd Airborne Division formed fan-shaped encirclement units, with M4A1 rifles, Carl Gustaf anti-tank guns, frequency jammers, night vision equipment, and surveillance UAVs. They travel stealthily in low-noise JLTVs. They had waited until the precise time when the cartel had nowhere left to flee for 40 hours. Lying still and covered in red dust, the final convoy crashed into the third blade of a 3-layer trap as it raced toward what it thought was a safe southern lane. The infrared UAVs tracked each target from 400 meters above the ground. Sniper rifles started shooting. 5 perfectly precise round strings. Not a single miss. Cartel AKs erupted into the night. Futile, the cries, commands, and agonized moans slowly vanished into the sand. 3 senior Sinaloa commanders, including the $10 million fentanyl kingpin Victor Alobo Adenas, were seen on thermal sensors in an armored armadillo command truck. The car was flipped when a guided UAV blasted out the front tire. 12 minutes later, El Lobo and 2 encrypted hard disks that included transit hubs, maps of drug trafficking, and a list of 7 Mexican officials offering security were taken alive by U.S. forces after they moved in and neutralized the bodyguards. The coordinate closed just over an hour after the initial shooting. At 5:41 a.m., no one from the cartel got away. Those who fled were either killed or captured. Drones that sensed heart rate were used to identify those who played dead. There was not a single American soldier lost. In the early morning light, Chinox carried Ilobo back to Yuma base in the confiscated evidence. Only black smoke rose from the crashed cars on the Sonoran desert floor, accompanied by the smell of blood, rubber, and oil. 93 minutes. On US land, more than 300 gunmen, 46 modified military vehicles, 6 fentanyl containers, and 3 regional commanders were totally destroyed. Just a quick Pentagon statement. No American casualties, no triumph speeches. Images of burnt cars reaching 3 kilometers, columns of smoke hundreds of meters high, and one human-like moment circulated on social media. Under the harsh sun, a U.S. soldier kneels next to a 17-year-old cartel shooter who has been badly burned, carefully removes a twisted AK from his grasp, and offers him a bottle of water. There were no celebrations or victory flags, just silence and a silent warning. America can wait, can observe and finish everything in less than an hour when the time comes. Every drug trafficker who crosses the border from now on will have to hear that quiet before it engulfs them. There is more to Operation Killbox Bravo than just a successful attack. In the era of contemporary asymmetric warfare, it was a thundering assertion of American military might, strategic intelligence, and moral commitment. Over 300 heavily armed Sinaloa cartel fighters, a transnational criminal organization with firepower equivalent to a full battalion, were destroyed in less than 90 minutes by 3,000 U.S. soldiers from SEAL Team 6 and Delta, forced to the 82nd Airborne Division, acting covertly and in perfect coordination. Using a 3-pronged pincer tactic, Phoenix X-UAVs, ASA micro-radars, and the REPEX electronic warfare system, the U.S. military completely destroyed the enemy force without revealing a single fighting location. No mistakes, no casualties. The triumph was won by quiet preparation, patience, and an attack that was carried out like an invisible blade, rather than by sheer numbers. From the extended wait to the last blow, every maneuver was meticulously planned to guarantee total devastation and utter concealment throughout the battlefield. However, military might is not the only thing that should make us proud. It's the ethics of the battlefield. Human dignity persisted when the gunshots stopped and a soldier bent to provide water to a juvenile cartel member who was injured. Americans need to learn from this win that the military is not solely in charge of ensuring national security. It is a country's determination to not give up to crime. Under a single tenet, leaders must keep making investments in both hard and soft power. Although adversaries may cross the border, preparation will always prevail. The Sonora Desert ambush teaches a valuable lesson. The secret to conquering even the most difficult obstacles is dedication and careful planning. Elite U.S. forces were able to turn arrogance into loss through flawless coordination, razor-sharp information, and quick adaptation. Regardless of how strong or confident the enemy was, such as a cartel convoy, supported by dozens of armored vehicles and over 300 gunmen, it serves as a reminder that patience, forethought, and prompt, definite action are the actual markers of power rather than bluster. Look to Sonora if you're planning to suffer the same fate, because the United States will just require 9 minutes instead of 90 the next time. To ensure you don't miss what happens next, subscribe to the channel if you consider this to be a proud American win. Activate notifications, tell your friends about this video, and share your thoughts in a comment. Do you think America's adversaries will remain uneasy if it remains silent? Watch the next video to learn about new battlegrounds, innovative tactics, and the unwavering power of a nation that never backs down.